just be like completely honest? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, this is kind of weird of an introduction. So this is also kind of a little room tour as I'm telling you guys this little debrief. So yeah, if you guys are okay with me blabbing for a bit, I'll give you a little tour. It's a double with my roommate, so we can give a little room tour at the same time. So, first advice, although I'm blown out. I came from a really small high school. Literally, it was like 300 kids. And coming here with so many people, I've met so many people. But coming into USC, especially a freshman, you have the same conversation. You're like, oh my god, hi, what's your name? What major are you? Where are you from? You know, it's the same typical conversation. And what I've noticed, and the little lesson that I learned from my freshman year, and I'm taking on my whole entire life moving forward, is to speak less and listen more. And the one thing about this is that I'm the type of person where I want to give rather than receive. And yes, I'm guilty of, I guess, receiving more and just being self-centered at times where I just kind of find the gap in the conversation. I'm like, let me bring up this achievement or this little snippet about my life. But the skill of just listening is so valuable because you get to know the other person at a deeper level. I think with over time, as you practice a skill, it'll come out a little bit more natural. Anyways, this is the side of my room. That's my roommate. She is not here yet, but Leticia, I miss you. And then this is my side. Number 2, anxiety is a good thing. And I would say I haven't always been a very extrovert person. I was a very shy kid growing up, actually. A lot of my family always says that they felt that a bubble just burst in me when I started acting. I started acting at the age of 12. And of course, I personally didn't feel that way. Whenever they told me that when I was older, I was like, really? Like, I always felt so anxious. And what I've come to learn is that those moments whenever you feel smaller, whenever you feel like you should limit yourself, that's because of anxiety. Anxiety makes you limit yourself and your potential. But if you have a feeling, you have a leg up. And you know the potential that you have within. And that's why you're anxious. You're anxious about putting yourself even further out towards your goals. You know, what I always say is choose fear over comfort, because if you live in comfort, you'll be in the same place from today to tomorrow and the days after. So always choose fear. And that's kind of like what happened to me coming to USC and choosing the major that I'm in. And just a little backstory, I've always been in love with film. And since middle school, I knew that USC was my dream school, especially for production. And that's what I planned on applying for. I even applied to production to Chapman. I had submitted that short film. I was also working on my portfolio for USC. As you all may know, it's very rigorous. So I was in the process of that. And a few weeks, maybe a week and a half before it was actually due, my mom and I came to USC. And we went to a panel at Marshall and they were discussing my major, business of cinematic arts. And even before that, I had a gut feeling that I wanted to do something in business, but also sticking with my dreams in the film industry. So when I heard about this major, I was like, oh my god, this is just the best of both worlds. Also, I was just very anxious. I was very anxious because I was like, oh my god, I'm going to leave my dream major for a major that literally you can only apply your freshman year. You cannot transfer in. I can't go production to BCA. You have to be BCA. And that just drew a lot of anxiety on me because it's a very long-term commitment. And what I've always known, especially with anxiety and whenever you're indecisive about something, is to honestly meditate on it, pray on it, and take action forward. Don't just stop, but really hone in that anxiety because it's there for a reason. And I would say if I hadn't felt anxious and kind of just did it, I was like, okay, you know what? That's it. The deadline passed for the production portfolio. I'm in. It's BCA. I have to apply for this. If you don't take that step forward, which is always the hardest, then you'll never know where you could be if you never did that. And now I'm here and I absolutely love my major. I love the people in it and it's such a cool cohort. But if you guys want some more details on that, just let me know. And you know, even applying to USC is such a mind-blowing thing to do because you're like, oh my god, there's literally like so many people applied. It's low-key crazy. But you know what I've always been told is that luck is when opportunity meets preparedness, and especially with college applications, it very much is all luck. Again, you never know who the individual is that's reading your application, whether they're happy or sad that day. It really depends on a lot of factors. And I think a lot of aspects in my life, the opportunities I've been blessed with, it's really hard to give an explanation as to how I got it. Yes, I work hard, but there's people that work harder. It's kind of like the saying of the turtle and, is it the cheetah? Turtle and the cat? I don't know, one of those two that's super quick. But one of them is able to run really quickly and the other one's very steady and paced in its journey. And I think similarly with opportunities, you want to put your best foot forward. It's not just put your best foot forward in one, but make sure to distribute it equally throughout the opportunities, because of course you don't want to burn yourself out. I think another thing that's really important is to space out your schedule, not only for yourself, but also for changes in life. And one thing I'm really aiming for in life is to not be so fixated on my schedule. Yes, I'm a very type A individual where I love scheduling by the minute. But I think those moments that are unplanned is when you have the most experience in your life. And that's what I'm trying to aim for a little bit more. And I think especially with the sense of luck, you need to have space in your schedule for those opportunities. Because when they come across, you want to be ready. Now you are, in fact, in the POV of my bathroom door. I think one thing also that I didn't really learn growing up is that you should plan your goals backwards. It's the fact that you are strategically planning what differences do you have right now compared to another individual that has the life that you want. And you have to put yourself out there and speak to those people, make your name known, and similarly just learn how their journeys were. Just with any aspect in life, it's important to know where your end goal is, because you don't want to be spreading yourself out too much every single day. This is a lesson that I learned from one of my mentors on a meeting. This is my bathroom, but this is the side. This is the shower. It's like a little area for toilet paper, and that's like a little shelf situation. Next thing that I've come to learn, which my mom always emphasized, is that the people around you play a huge impact as to who you are. But what I've noticed the most is with friend groups. I used to spread myself very far in friend groups, and I'll be like, I have 100 friends in this school. But then I realized that none of them were actually my friends, and a lot of the small habits, like the way they talked, some slang words that they said, I was catching on to that. That was the first no-no, where I was like, I don't usually say that naturally. Number 2 was limitations. If I'm moving on to the next chapter in life, you can't stay in the previous chapter. And friend-wise, yes, this is really hard, and I faced this a bunch of times where I'm like, we are just not seeing eye to eye, neither is our conversation. I think when you're going into a new chapter, there's a lot of self-development that's needed, and with that is a lot of emotional support, social support. So I think it's really important to look for other friends. If you have a new ambition for a career, look for people that also have similar ambitions. You don't have to find these people very specifically, like I have this person in this category in my life, I have this person, but whatever comes authentically, I think anyone can really feel when a conversation is swaying away. So I think just trust your guts and know that when the time comes and the time is right, you would meet that person again. But just follow your true light star, because just know all of your guys' lives, it's planned already. God planned it perfectly. So trust the journey. You guys are all on the right path. And it's just a matter of taking action. And if you feel where you are right now isn't the right place in life, or you feel like you deserve more, then take action to move to that more. The next thing that I've come to grow more on, I've talked a lot about the very materialistic things like school, friends, all the social aspects. But what I've come to learn in college is also your spiritual well-being is also very, very important. Like I said before, it's better to give than receive. And I think the best way you can do this is working on yourself spiritually. Sometimes that's different ways. Sometimes people like crafts, and there's different ways that people feel good in themselves. My personal way of feeling good in myself and also feeling that I'm growing more in my wisdom is spiritually. So that's that. Next thing is that your conscious is so powerful that it literally affects your subconscious. I feel like that's known. Maybe. This was something new to me. Really pay attention. A lot of conversations nowadays are very negative. It's very much like commonality we have with each other is how hard school is, and it's like, oh my god, I hate this teacher and blah 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 blah. Although it may seem like a joke, sometimes that does really affect you. I think it's just a matter of limiting yourself. There's also ways that I've seen of like manifesting things, and I think it's important to just have full confidence in yourself whenever you talk to people, but also just internal confidence in your goals. And that's when you can truly just manifest things in your life. I had this instinct once where I had a very important speech I was going to deliver in front of a school district. And I was just very crammed. It was a very hard stage in my life. And I kept telling myself before that, like, I am going to forget my speech when I get up on stage. Like I know I have it memorized right now, but I feel like I'm going to forget when I get up that stage. And I kid you not, when I got up that stage, I got the first lines right on the bat, but then I literally just blinked out, and that has never happened to me, but I blinked out and the microphone in front of me looked like it zoomed out. I was like, zoom, and the microphone looked huge and everyone was blurred, and then like we rack focus and everyone is like unfocused, and I just see them looking at me. That was very embarrassing. But it's just the matter of fact that I was telling myself before that, like, I am going to forget my speech. And you know what's insane is literally after that, I was literally saying out loud, I was like, I have memory problems. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I have memory problems. I felt like a lot of things that had memorization incorporated with, I felt like I was going to be challenged because of that. And I hope some of you guys relate to this very hilarious, embarrassing story, but it's important to realize what you're telling yourself, because our mind is always working. My mind is always working. I'm always thinking. But whatever you're telling yourself, that sometimes becomes reality. Okay, we are now on the bottom of my bed. You know, whenever I'm like typing, doing homework, I put that little inspiration. Let's say, if I don't know, it says Trojans. Another thing I would say is important is to not hold back communication. I know it's hard to realize sometimes, but the other person doesn't know what's going on in your mind. And a lot of the times, I think there's instances where I feel like my nonverbal is being communicated, but it's not. And I feel like, especially in a day and age right now where everyone is on their phone, I'm even on my phone, it's important to just be very clear about your emotion. My last thing is, don't hold back telling that person how you feel. And the reason why I say this is because I lost my grandma at the beginning of 2024, and it was a very hard time in my life. And we had a very close relationship. We had a very, very close relationship, and I always loved hanging out with her. And we had a bond that was we loved hugging each other. We loved dancing with each other. We loved singing together. Very nonverbal, maybe not the singing. But I feel like there were moments where I kind of held back. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a feeling like you want to say, like, oh my God, you are so pretty, or, you know, you want to say things like that, but you don't say it. So, although sometimes it is awkward to tell your relative, like, your cousin, like, hey, like, you're looking really good today, or like in a deeper level, like, hey, I can tell that you've been going through a lot, but I can tell that you're overcoming it and you're very strong, and like, you're my inspiration. Like, truthfully, yes, we can write it down, but I think it's a matter of telling that individual before it's too late. And I think just tell your loved ones that you love them. And I think also another thing with that is asking questions, because not only is it given commentary, but it's also asking questions. I think it's very important for our generation to ask elderlies more about their life. Know who you are, because your family is who you are. And I think that's something that should be very much valued, or that should be very valuable in everybody's life. Like, having quality knowledge of who you are, who your family is just very, very important. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to this TED Talk and giving you guys a little tour of my new house here at USC. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Subscribe, like, all of the above. And yeah, comment down below what was the biggest takeaway. What was the best lesson that you guys learned where you're like, oh my god. I'll see you guys on the next one. And stay safe. Show a lot of love. And yeah, bye.